From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not. It's Monday, January 19th. Here's a look at today's outline as we are expecting some windy days. So once again, by Wednesday. Wednesday may end up being the windiest day that we have in eastern KELOLAND. Now, along with it, a couple of things actually. We'll have snow. We'll have cold temperatures, so expect these wind chills, much like what we had this morning. Wind chills minus teens, minus 20s, and on occasion approaching minus 30. We had that across eastern KELOLAND with cold weather advisories that were out till 10 o'clock this morning. So that does cover areas just north of Sioux Falls into parts of Minnesota for the morning hours, through at least 10 o'clock. Those wind chills may approach minus 30. And then we'll talk about this weather pattern, and meteorologist Brian Karstens, of course, will join us as well. Today, we are looking at dry skies. We'll have some sunshine. Let's just call it partly cloudy for today, as temperatures will be cold. Numbers only in the single digits and teens for afternoon highs. And then there's a warm front that will slowly try to move across the area. This will help bring in not only warmer temperatures, but when you bring in warmer temperatures, you're also bringing in a little bit more moisture. And then we will start to see that, of course, in the form of snow. As we get into maybe the midday hour, we could have snow showers in the western and central South Dakota. We'll see how much you need to moisten up the atmosphere. We had to moisten up those layers in the atmosphere before we start to see the snow hit the ground in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND for tomorrow. And then during the day, yes, I do think we'll have some snow showers, eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, northwestern Iowa. Still looking at areas to where we have the best chance of seeing amounts that can be over an inch, maybe 2 inches, possibly even a little bit more. If that does set up, that may set up across northeastern South Dakota and into western Minnesota. We'll take a look at the computer models as to what they are thinking. We'll go through at least 2 or 3 of them for our snowfall amounts for both Tuesday and Wednesday. So we'll probably take it out, and when we get to it, probably take it out to like Thursday morning, just to cover that time period. But snow showers also in our forecast for Wednesday. Now, along with it, it almost has the same look to it that we just went through last week when we had these streaks of snow on Friday on Futurecast. Almost has that same look to it, where we'll have these periods of snow showers that will move through Wednesday. Wednesday's a day where we'll have our strong winds across eastern KELOLAND, where I would not be surprised to see a couple of those wind gusts near 50 miles per hour, especially in and near some of those snow showers that do develop, much like what we had over the past weekend, Friday and even on Sunday. You may have noticed that once you get that snow shower overhead or close to one of those, you get those gusty winds. Forecast today showing temperatures in the single digits and teens. That will cover much of eastern South Dakota, 20s and 30s for central and western KELOLAND. Below zero again tonight. You see that across eastern and northeastern South Dakota, throughout Minnesota and into northwestern Iowa. And that forecast for tomorrow showing temperatures will be a little bit warmer. We'll also watch for developing snow showers as we get into the late morning and afternoon. We'll talk more about our windy days ahead coming up in the next segment. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. KELOLAND Digital Desk, meteorologist Scott Mundt. We'll have a couple of windy days ahead. Let's go ahead and check some of that information for you. Let's start with our bar graphs here. Now, this is Rapid City. Notice that today we could have an increase in our wind speeds, some gusts near 40 miles per hour this afternoon in Rapid City. And then tomorrow approaching 50 miles per hour with some of these stronger wind gusts. And the winds are showing that they do die down as we get into tonight. Now, this is central South Dakota. This is Pierre. Winds over the next several days, they're doing okay. I think on Wednesday is when we'll start to see an increase in these wind speeds in central and eastern KELOLAND. Aberdeen, we're looking at wind gusts today that may be in that lower 20 mile per hour range, and then we'll go with relatively light winds for tonight going into tomorrow. And this is Sioux Falls. We can see some wind gusts today, maybe around 20 miles per hour. And then we'll have light winds tonight, relatively light winds in our forecast for tomorrow. But I think as we do go through the day on Wednesday, these winds will start to increase. And I'll show you the reason why. As this is a graphic, this meteorogram generator from ISU that we've been showing. Brian and I have been showing this anytime that we do have some windy days ahead. And we're looking at Rapid City. And here's the chart again with the time on the bottom of the screen here. And your wind momentum. This is your momentum transfer. So your wind, and of course, in miles per hour. You do notice we have a couple of peaks here as we get into Wednesday. I think the average is just over 60 miles per hour for maybe one of those peak wind gusts. So we'll have to watch that for Wednesday. Even before then, I just showed you some of those wind gusts expected for today on that graphic, and that bar graph across western South Dakota. We'll get a little windy today. A little bit more wind gets introduced for tomorrow. And then Wednesday may be the strongest wind that we have. And then notice as we get into the later part of the week and for the weekend, this is when that cold air mass comes in for the weekend. We'll have high pressure overhead, so winds will be very light by the time we do get into this coming weekend, but very cold too. That's something that we'll talk more about coming up probably in the next weather segment. But let's go ahead and go back to our weather graphics machine. And what I did is I looked through the 4 cities with our strong wind. And this more or less is what I came up with these wind gusts for today. Rapid City, around 40 miles per hour. We'll add 10 for tomorrow. We'll add another 10 on Wednesday to get those wind gusts maybe around 60. And I just showed you that with that line graph too for Rapid City. Now, as far as the other 3 cities we have listed here, Pierre, Aberdeen, Sioux Falls, not overly concerned about the wind until we hit Wednesday. Wednesday's wind gusts in Pierre can range anywhere from 50 to 60 miles per hour. Aberdeen, as I was looking at that information, it was around 50. And Sioux Falls on Wednesday could also see some wind gusts of 50 to 55 miles per hour. Now, keep in mind, too, Wednesday is a day where we do have those snow showers. And what I just mentioned to you with our snow chances on Wednesday is anytime we're in and near these snow showers that pop up, that seemed to be the time when we do have some of our strongest wind gusts. That happened on Friday in Sioux Falls. I think our peak wind gust was around 51. I want to say around 11 o'clock in the morning. And then even yesterday on Sunday, we had a peak wind gust in the mid-40s with a couple of snow showers that moved through. So if you're in and near some of those snow showers, you can expect those strong winds. We'll talk more about the snow coming up in the next weather segment. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I'm joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens now. Brian, how was your weekend? Busy?
Yes, we were busy. We
good.
were at the All-American Gymnastics Invite in Sioux Falls, and I had a nice day on Friday. I got to announce.
Oh, you did?
Arena.
Good for you. How'd that go?
Good. A lot of great teams from the area, from Madison. And
now, did you throw in a weather report every now and then as you were introducing?
You know, I'm sure the crowd might have been thinking that at times, but no. If you could see me, I was kind of at the head table and the bottom. But
people are like, this voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, I had my announcer voice, though. That
Yep.
You had to do that when you have the girls coming out and you're announcing all these gymnastics teams coming out.
Yeah, my family calls that my TV voice, I think.
Yeah, we
okay.
My family actually on Friday my girls did not compete, so that was my day to do all that.
Okay.
But yeah, we had a good time. It was a little cold though, getting in for warm-ups at 7:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Awfully cold, and everybody, of course, knowing that roads and everything else, just not a good weekend. It was a tough travel environment. Now, this week, we've got more issues ahead. I know you've already talked about some of that, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is tomorrow, we've got a Clipper on the move in the Alberta Clippers. Of course, we always watch these carefully because they're notorious for subtle changes at the last minute, which can mean an alteration a little bit in the trajectory. So right now, the path is mostly north of Sioux Falls, but just keep that in mind. Sioux Falls has a chance of snow tomorrow. And if you're in the middle of that zone of blue, it may end up being a couple of inches in some spots. And we're not going to get a lot of wind initially. So it's going to blanket things with that coating of white. And then the problem is it going to blow around and create blowing snow on Wednesday? I know Tuesday's wind is already windy in western South Dakota, but Wednesday kind of looks like everybody shares in on that.
Well, and can we add more new snow to it? Another round of snow can come in Wednesday, too, as this front moves through. And I explained this a little bit talking about the wind during the last segment, Brian, but you may have noticed this, too. It's when we had these snow showers pass overhead, or at least close to these snow showers, that's when we had our strongest of the gusty wind. And I know we had that wind gust up to 54 in Sioux Falls on Friday, and when we had those snow showers move through, and I think that was 11 o'clock in the morning. And then even yesterday, I think we had a wind gust in the mid-40s with a couple of our snow showers too.
Yeah. We've got excellent, precedents for this. We've had this happen repeatedly. We see all these ingredients coming back. So best advice is if you have travel plans on Wednesday in particular, that's going to be probably the more challenging day. Some sort of an advisory almost looks like a shoe-in. Do we convert to a few areas to a blizzard? It's possible. Not quite ready to cross that line yet. Depends on how we link up the winds at the surface. But there's going to be a belt of wind that will definitely be very strong. 30, 45. I would say Sioux Falls is easily in that range. And then Rapid could be gust to 60 or higher again.
Well, I would not be surprised to see those winds gusting to 60 in western South Dakota. You mentioned, up to 45. I had some evidence even pointing to possibly hitting 50 miles per hour for Sioux Falls. So we'll continue to follow it. Again, that's on Wednesday, so that's still a couple of days out. But something worth noting, something worth suggesting, of course, because we'll have the snow. We'll have a base of snow try to move through. The best chance for, and I'll run through a couple of computer models here too, the best chance for the higher end totals of the accumulating snow probably ended up north of Sioux Falls. That's the way it looks right now. But I mentioned this to you before, Brian, is, when we've had these clippers move through November, December, there was a trend there to push those or pull those maybe a little bit farther to the south.
They did.
With the higher end total. So, we'll see how this one plays out.
And it always goes back to, like on this map here, you've got the blues versus the oranges and yellows. So this is your temperature contrast. And remember, clippers, they feed right down the middle. So what happened back in December? Well, I remember clearly that the colder air seeped south more than was anticipated. And then when that happens, the whole track shifts, not a lot, but a little bit. 50 miles. 50 miles makes a huge difference because now all of a sudden some communities that were not so much involved, now they are. And so just remember that. And clippers, I wish I had an easy answer for you of why can't we fix that problem? Well, in all of my nearly 26 years of working here, we've always had this challenge with northwest flow. It's the way the models handle the flow. It's the steering currents. There's a whole discussion on that. So I wish northwest flow was better, but it's just not. It has its issues. It's gotten better over the years. Certainly, I'll give you that. And the best advice is tune in later on this evening again, and of course tomorrow for the forecast and all those elements online at KELOLAND.com. And we'll just keep
and this program. Can't forget about this program.
And this
Brian.
program too, absolutely. And we're here to at least give you some guiding principles, because I know many of you that are weather savvy and you kind of look at these patterns here a lot in the wintertime. You have to be understanding the northwest flow. There's a lot of characteristics about it. If we were in a different pattern right now, southwest flow, then we'd have another list of things we would be watching. So
now you did mention a little bit ago talking about the wind and the snow. Do we get to that very thin line of blizzard? We had blizzard warnings pop in northeastern South Dakota yesterday.
Yep, absolutely. And the wind, and it has to really come down to the criteria, because you've got to reach the wind sustained at 35 or higher for 3 consecutive hours, but you've got to get the visibility down below a quarter mile. That can be easier done, too, if you get 2 inches of snow versus even a half inch. So a lot of that snow, obviously, in the Northeast, there's no way that that's going to crust over. I mean, we're definitely too cold. Even with 20 tomorrow in Sioux Falls and maybe upper 20s on Wednesday, even Sioux Falls really, I don't think is going to crust over or melt. We're not going to get that warm. So we got to be careful as we get into midweek.
Now, are you done with this graphic? Because I'll move on to computer model forecasts.
Yeah.
I just want to get your opinion on that, too.
Why don't we save
We
the
can come
rest
back
of
to
this?
this one.
Yeah. Oh, he's not going anywhere. There he is.
Still
You
want
like
him in
our
that
cartoon.
I still want him in that locomotive. Riding the
Tomorrow
Siberian
I'm gonna
Express.
get him into a train. You're right. I really do have to do that because he's sitting here. Did the audience know we can? Yeah, we can.
Do I have a train sound effect? I don't think I do.
Oh, yeah. You'll have to work on that too tomorrow. Well, it's the Siberian Express, or at least in my view, this is in that family. I've seen worse. You got to remember, we've been here a long, long time. So if we have a couple of days that are pretty brutal, that's winter. That happens here.
And it's January.
Yep. So it's never nice news to deliver. I try to package this all nice and cute, and it's always ugly. It's just winter.
It's cold.
I don't know anybody that likes it this cold.
Anybody? I know they want it to be cold so they can, have better conditions for ice fishing. But do they need?
They don't need
this
it this cold.
Even
Travis,
then you don't want to be
Fossing.
out there.
Travis is going ice fishing at the end of the week, and he would say that's too cold.
Yeah, right.
Too cold.
He's going to northern Minnesota, and he was mentioning the
What's
forecast.
the forecast up by Bemidji? 15 below.
Yeah, the highs are colder.
See, now
than
it could
our
be
highs on
worse,
Friday.
right? We're not going to be as cold as Bemidji, Minnesota.
Well, that's
that
one
any
way. That's one way to
consolation?
look at it. Any way to look, to make it sound at least a little bit better. Now, what do you think about these? Now, these are just raw numbers, Brian. Now, this is a snow forecast taking us out through 8 o'clock Thursday. Now, in our forecast, we do have tomorrow and Wednesday with snow that's in the forecast. These are just raw numbers coming in. So this is like information that we look at. We have to, jog our memory, say, okay, these numbers are saying what they are. What kind of scenario are we in? Can we get numbers this high? What are other forecast models suggesting? So this is our in-house model, our Barron run. It does have some high totals in what I would say, 2 to 5, 4 to 7, Watertown, that 2 to 5 coming in for Aberdeen, Sisseton, Ortonville, 4 to 7 in Marshall. What this is telling me is, okay, we'll have higher totals in northeastern South Dakota, western Minnesota. Will we reach those numbers? I would say probably the low end of those ranges will be possible.
That's what I think,
not
too.
the high end. And I know a lot of people look at these range numbers and they say 4 to 7. They don't even say 4 to 7. They just say 7.
Yeah, that's not in this case that Barron. I would say that particular model
A little
is just
overdone.
a little too much.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's our thoughts on this. We can pick and choose. We've got a lot to choose from. This is the American model, and this is a little more in line, even if you budget extra fluff factor here, which you do have to do a little bit because it's a dry, fluffy snow.
And those numbers not as high as the model we just showed you, but still coming in a couple of inches northeastern South Dakota. Brookings is one of the ones that has that higher end total of 2 to 4. Can they reach 4? Well, as you just mentioned, maybe that fluff factor can help them get to the higher end total.
Yes. Yep. And that's where it'll have to be is that part of it. But Canadian too, 1 to 2.
1 to 2, that's a good average. And that's kind of what we've been saying on air is 1 to 2 is pretty good. I think I have one more, the NAM. 1 to 2.
Yep.
Coming in as a good average for a lot of us in eastern and northeastern South Dakota. I think I have a pattern here next, which we'll probably revisit the cold air that's coming in later in the week. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. The pattern, Brian, it's what we've been advertising, the cold air for, the second half of the month, especially for this coming weekend. Friday could be a day where we have highs struggling to get above 0. And we have eastern KELOLAND staying below 0 for highs on Friday.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
throwing any amount of wind. Dangerous wind chills Friday morning.
Well, and we use that word dangerous intentionally because extreme cold warnings are what they are. They're the replacement of the old wind chill warnings, and typically when you get into that kind of weather, that's the type of condition where schools will close. And it's, if you're traveling, you've got to be aware of, okay, you got to travel, winter survival kit, those kind of things. Not that you shouldn't have one anyway, but just to reiterate the fact that this is the real deal. So this is kind of the setup going into Friday. You can see the chunk of cold here. One thing that I'd like to do, though, just to point out the fact that where's all this coming from? Okay, well, look at Alaska for one moment. We've pushed the cold out of Alaska, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's cross over into Siberia. Let me straighten the map out a little bit, okay? We're going to go over into eastern Russia. What do you see there? It's very warm, too. So we're pushing that air across from Siberia, across the pole. And then if I tilt this way, I know we're kind of going in circles here, but I got to go to Greenland. Look at Greenland. It is warmer than average there by a lot. That's a Greenland block, and that's dislodging more cold. So when you see all of that in the Arctic regions, that's a bellwether sign that we've got some cold air routing. Now, the question always is, how long is it going to last? Because, these things aren't, locked in necessarily for a long time. But even if you get 2 days that are really cold, everybody talks about it. And it's not fun. And certainly it's something to be aware of. So that's kind of what I have on my end of things here, Scott. Obviously, we kind of run the graphic out, and it shows enough cold for me.
Yeah. You said, how many days, couple of days, 1 day with below zero highs. That's enough for me. And that may end up being Friday. Cold air moves like what?
Molasses.
Yes, it does. So we'll see how long it takes to get out of this cold. But you know what? This can be, quite a while before we hit 32. I'm just using 32, freezing, as a threshold here. Consecutive days being below 32. We've been very spoiled, it seems like, for the past several weeks. But, going back to January 1st of 2025, 14 days, we had temperatures below 32. That happened February 8th through 21, okay? And then it's 8 days. That's last January 1st through 8th. And then, this past season, we'll say, at the end of November, December 1st, 6 days. You take in their temperatures this past weekend, and you add the temperatures we have going in that 10-day temperature trend, we'll be at least 12 days with temperatures being below 32. Now, think of it, too, the climate average is, 27, becoming 28 in a couple of days. So, the climate average is below 32. So you would think you should string together sometime during the winter that you'll have these temperatures below freezing. And this is that sometime. We're starting it right now.
Yep. And part of that, too, has to depend on snow cover. That's a big ingredient.
That's a big thing. Mm-hmm.
We don't have that much in Sioux Falls out of the weekend. We have, obviously, Watertown. There's a lot more snow. A lot of that, too, the topography in the Northeast helped to generate that snow. So keep that in mind, because if we get an inch or two of snow, it makes a big deal.
Thanks for watching our latest edition of Weather or Not. Have yourself a great day.